So we want to talk about the money that's just going out of our country by the Biden administration, and also just about some money that was recently passed out with the American Rescue Plan. Now, they recently put out a fact sheet that came out on March the 7th, 2022, titled Department of Education announces state by state American Rescue Plan funding for colleges and universities. Now, we want to focus on where it says the American Rescue Plan provided more than $10 billion to 1,000 community college. Now, they said that more than $2.7 billion to HBCUs, more than $190 million to tribally controlled colleges and universities, approximately $11 billion. Yes, I said $11 billion to Hispanic serving institutions. Now, this is the finesse when you say that. In this country, that's considered an ethnicity and not a race. Unless that particular person identifies with indigenous or they identify as black or something like that, then they automatically by default going to put them as white. And now I did read the current census. A lot of people within the Hispanic community have got rid of white off of the census this time. They say it was about a 30% increase of people removing the white and putting indigenous or other things. I thought that was interesting. I just read about the census. But as of now, when it comes to anything that say Hispanic, that is a big finesse for white people. And until people who are not white will get on a movement to say we are either indigenous or if you're black or if you're whatever your actual classification you may be, that's how white people are going to take money away from your particular community. But we're going to continue. They say approximately $5 billion to AAPI. And then approximately, they say almost $1 billion to predominantly black institutions. So approximately $5 billion to Asians, approximately $11 billion to Hispanic serving institutions. Now they say more than 2.7, but we'll never give an approximate. Now, if we want to look at the Asian community here, the Asian community so far from what I have seen has benefited the most off of the Biden presidency, more than any other group. They received all kind of set-asides during the virus, more than any other group. They have received federal protection status. They have received an executive order of $50 million from Biden. In New York, the Democrats gave them $10 million, because of they say they're suffering like nobody else is suffering, right? At all. I mean, wouldn't you say the fair thing to do is to split the money evenly among all groups that way? Because all groups are suffering, right? I mean, I'm just saying, because anytime it's something for black folk, it's always, well, you know, what about me? What about everybody? So when black folks get something, everybody needs to get it. But when other groups get it, no, you know, white folks don't say nothing. You notice how quiet they are? Why aren't they saying anything about when the Asian people get something? Okay, fine. So they got $5 billion on top of the federal hate crime protection, on top of the $50 million that Biden gave them, on top of the $10 million that they got in New York and other cities, right? The $11 billion for Hispanic serving institutions, we know that can be a complete finesse, but this is what y'all lined up for. This is what you lined up for. Now let's continue to talk about something that's even more egregious than even this. Congress passed $13.6 billion of your tax money to Ukraine aid, along with government funding. So they say the Senate voted Thursday night to approve a massive spending package that includes $1.5 trillion in funding to keep the federal government open, with a $13.6 billion in emergency aid for Ukraine. send it to Biden for his signature. Now, I say the House approved the measure on Wednesday. It said the government spending section of the bill avoids a looming government shutdown funding operations through the end of fiscal year September 30. Now, they said the broader package is a result of a lengthy bipartisan negotiation that took on a new urgency as Congress raced to respond after Russia invaded Ukraine. The overall spending package includes 5.6% increase in defense spending over current levels, along with 6.7% increase for non-defense spending. Now, they said leaders, insisted on reaching an agreement on government spending in order to avoid extending current funding levels, which do not meet the current budgetary needs of the federal agencies. Now, they said the $13.6 billion of your tax dollars that you can't get is going to Ukraine. It's an emergency package that includes money for humanitarian aid. They didn't need a study for that, folks. They didn't need a commission. They didn't need any of that. So when they tell you they need a commission for reparations, understand they're pissing on your leg and telling you it's rain. They say defense assistance and economic support for the region. They say lawmakers more than doubled the amount of money in the package over the past several weeks as the severity of the fighting and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine grew. Now, at first, Biden asked for $6.4 billion. They end up giving $13.6 billion of your tax money and mine. Now, they say that the money is divided between what lawmakers term lethal and humanitarian aid. See, when white folks are in trouble, they'll start giving out the cash. See, the only reason you saw that cash going out during the virus was because white folks were suffering. The only reason you saw PPP and all that is because white folks are suffering. Once again, I told y'all, if it was a virus that we were just getting, they would have done crap. They would have came up with no medication, no nothing. They were like, let them die off good. That's how they feel about us. Now, they say humanitarian section includes $4 billion for people displaced within Ukraine and an estimated 2 million people who have fled the country since the war began just 2 weeks ago. More than $2.5 billion will go to the U.S. Agency for International Development to provide food and healthcare support. $2.5 billion. Another $1.4 billion is intended for migration and refugee assistance. Okay. So now they about to get the refugees that come over here. They got a $1.4 billion pot to pull from. Okay. Now your Democrats was pushing for this big time, but you can't get anything. Once again, another group will come in here and get things over you. Now, they say the Defense of Lethal Aid section provides $3 billion to support the U.S. military's European command, and it's used for operations and mission support. They said the deployment of personnel to the region and intelligence support. Now, they say another $650 million will go to grants or direct loans administered by the Department of Defense Foreign Military Financing. The legislation also gives Biden the authority to transfer $3 billion in defense equipment to Ukraine and other allies supporting Ukraine. Okay. So another $3 billion of tax dollars going to Ukraine in the area of weapons. They said that House Democrats are forced to remove $15 billion additional, virus related funding for the states. After some Democrats object the way the funding was structured, Republicans opposed new funding for the virus. So top Democrats chose to reclaim some of that allocated but unspent funds for the new package. Now, some Democrats said they could have mean as many as 30 states would lose money that they already spent. They said that the White House also asked Congress for $22.5 billion in emergency spending for immediate needs. It said White House officials said removing the money from the package would have dire consequences, including decline in testing capacity. So with all this being said, ladies and gentlemen, is that they got a check for everybody else except a check for our community. And when they do give you a check, they're lowballing you, as we talked about earlier. This is the people that a lot of you were, getting in line to vote for. And I know some of you regret that. So some of these representatives. And look at it, the people that never vote the most. Listen, the AAPI community is not the leaders of voting. They don't have get out the vote drives in their community like that. You don't see them lining up like that. The only time I've seen them come out in mass numbers with Peter Liang. That's the last time I really seen them come out in mass numbers, and with that propaganda that they had, trying to say black folk are trying to just constantly attack them. Like I said, ever since they got that bill signed, where black folks to stop attacking them all of a sudden, allegedly. And then we knew that a lot of it was homeless people that was so-called attacking them, people with immigrant backgrounds that was so-called attacking them, wearing red hoodies, pink hoodies, things like that. Like, okay, well, he our guy. So, and we never hear about these jail sentences or nothing like that for these people. And it was heavy until they got that bill. Trust me, they will work in lockstep with the ministry of, because that's called what it is. You do have a ministry of propaganda in this country. They just don't call it that. These mainstream media organizations are propaganda. They want to talk about North Korean propaganda and Chinese propaganda and Russian propaganda. All y'all do propaganda. All y'all. Because matter of fact, when it's propaganda? When they come against you for you speaking against them. Because if you wasn't doing propaganda, wouldn't try to convince nobody, then why would you even be upset when somebody speak different? They got people now, our articles in NBC News talking about, scammers are making money off of disinformation. What you mean? No, you making money off of disinformation and misinformation. You just mad when you getting challenged, and you getting mad that people listen to people on social media more than you. Like, you don't have no credibility at all because people literally see how you freaking lie. You lie all the time. But yeah, your boy Biden and the Democrats, like I said, Republicans too. So we're going to say all of them are in unison to make sure to take care of white folk. I want y'all to see that. Now, let me ask a simple question. Just a simple question. You got all this money for Ukraine and everything. But if we look at the picture on the screen here, this isn't a quote unquote third world country looking at, folks. That is actually in Dallas, Texas. We have people living underneath bridges in makeshift tents and everything like that. But $13 billion goes to Ukraine. But we have this going on here in America. And what we probably should start doing more of, people, and any of you can do this, and we should probably, and I'm thinking about this. Maybe we should go out in America and just start filming all of this and then come right back around and say, once you film it, and present a question. Why is it that America is okay with $13 billion of your tax dollars going to Ukraine, but you got pictures like this that you're looking at of people living this way in America? You mean to tell me $13 billion wouldn't help the homeless in Dallas, the homeless in LA, and Lord Jesus, let me get on LA. I have not seen homelessness like that till I went to LA, and it was worse the last time I went. I went in August. That's the last time I went to LA. My God, that's bad. That is so bad. Like, it's so many homeless people out there. It is horrible. How does the California state government allow that to go on? Or even the American government allow this to go on in a so-called rich country. So you're going to freaking send $13 billion, all these billions of dollars of weapons and all, just billions of dollars you giving to Ukraine, but you can't take that taxpayer money and get these people into some decent housing. You can't help these people get some jobs. You can't help the American people, but you can send everything to freaking Ukraine. This is the things that we need to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. You could look at another picture that we have here on the screen. This is folks. This is America here. What you're looking at, but our tax dollars, they go everywhere else, but here in America, everybody else is benefiting off of America. And once again, I had thought about this. We got 535 people plus one. Let's say you're president, making the decisions for 350 million people. Have you ever thought about that? 535 people is making the decisions for 350 million people. When you're looking at pictures of homelessness in America, and a lot of people became homeless during the pandemic. A lot of people did. Why in the hell are we sending anything to freaking Ukraine? We got our own problems right here in the United States of America that we need to solve as a country. But I guess, am I wrong saying that our tax dollars should not be going to no other country but our own right now to fix our issues and problems here? So they what they're doing, the Democrats making sure to give everybody else a bag and making sure to give us minimum, if none, right? Then when they cousins get in trouble, they getting blank checks. They getting a blank check, say how much you need. Oh, you need more? Hey, let me know when you need more. I got you. But when black folks come around, reparations, man, we're going to need a study on that. We're going to have to debate the bill, and then it's going to have to go to committee, and then we're going to have a hearing. And then, if this bill passed, remember, it's just a study. It's not cash payments, because they keep saying it. They're like, wait a minute, it's not cash payments. Oh, no, it's not cash payments. But everybody else can get cash payments. Ukraine get cash payments. Everybody can get cash payments. Asians get cash payments. But black folks talking about, we need a study. If you're not willing to sit it out in 2024 or 2022, or if you're not emotional, as I've stated before, to do a protest vote. Now, I'm going to cover not this podcast, but Biden knows he's in trouble. He recently went to Philadelphia and spoke to the Democrats. And he's pretty upset that people's blaming him for everything. And he was saying that, if y'all don't do nothing, all I'm going to have is a veto pen. And that's what you need to have at this point. You haven't done right by black people at all. Even your hardcore supporters are even upset. But that'll be our next podcast that we'll cover for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the podcast. This morning, greatly appreciate it. Make sure you click that like button. That way we'll spread the video in the algorithm. And also make sure you subscribe. That way when we post our next podcast and everything. And if you see the little picture of the little girls at the bottom down there, it's for the Dancing Dynasty team. Make sure to go to the GoFundMe and donate. We appreciate everyone that's donated so far. You're trying to get to hitting the goal so they can get their new building and, of course, things for travel. These little girls, they all come from communities where it's low income. They want to put the team together, and they don't have a lot of money, but the team is doing what they can, and but they need their own place, right? And just because somebody comes from a certain situation doesn't mean children can't participate or be into anything, because they could take that. They go to an HBCU along with other education. So we want to definitely support our children much as possible. For sure. So thank you in advance for donating to this particular project. So thank you for listening, and see you next time.